Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to GVH Deals. With the news from PSA that they're shutting down many of their value tiers, I wanted to get in one last submission to GameStop to get to PSA before the freeze happens next week. I've been trying to get a submission in every month. I did one in March, April, and May, so Monday would be June 1st before they shut down on June 2nd. I've got 5 cards I'm going to give a review on today. You can see I've got 2 of each of the Michael Jordan and the Kobe Bryant, and then an Aaron Judge 2017. I'll show a little bit later as we go through these what some of the prices are and why I think it's worth getting these graded, with the potential for PSA 9s. 10s are probably not realistic for the older ones, but you never know, and want to take a look and make sure there's no major issues before I submit them. Before we get started, you can see I've got a loop here, which will help us magnify and take a look at the cards. I've got my card savers that I'm going to use for the ones that are going to go to GameStop and get graded. This is a tool I got for centering, along with a microfiber cloth. So the microfiber cloth, the tool, and the loop were part of a package on eBay. I think they were about 10 bucks, so pretty cheap if you're getting started, but a good way to help you out. So before we jump in now, I'm gonna go through card by card. The great thing about having 2 of the same is that I can compare and see if, maybe I want to pick one over the other. So before we get started, let's jump right in with the Aaron Judge card. All right, so now before we jump in with the Aaron Judge card, one thing I forgot to mention is I also do have a ruler. I'm still getting used to the tool that goes over the card, and sometimes it's easier to just use the ruler. But if you do have one of these, what you can see is you put it over the card, you line it up as best as possible. That's where I have a little bit of trouble, but if you can see the lines very closely on here, you find your markers. For example, just to the right of the RC shield is usually a good marker. You see the red. Where that comes on this side is a little hard to see. It does look like the red is lined up with the outfielder on the bottom. So again, I'm still learning here, getting used to it, but that gives you an idea of how you would use that. As I mentioned, sometimes it's easier to just use a ruler. You can see, I guess that's about 3 and 3. So we'll get better at this, but that's a way to just double check some of your centering. I like to do that with the top loader still on to make sure I'm not scratching the card. But now we can take a look. I've got a light shining behind here. Does look like maybe there's a little bit of chipping here on the top, but outside of that, not seeing too much on the surface. The back as well. If you look on the corners, generally, if there's something with the corners, you can see a little white spot. So I don't see anything with the naked eye, but this is where it's helpful to use this loop. There's a little light on this one, so helps you drill down in. There is a little bit of specking. I should have wiped it with the cloth first, real lightly. You don't want to scratch anything with it, but so there was a piece of dust on there. That's all that was, the white spot. But if there's any, sometimes you'll see some faded paint or whiteness in there. This one looks pretty good. Maybe the corner there is a little bit of a spot, and like I said, it does look like there might be a little scratch on the top. Not terrible, but probably not gonna get a 10. So just go around. You're really looking at the corners and the edges especially, since I didn't see anything in the light on the front surface. If there was anything questionable, you can kind of look across the card and make sure there's no big scratches or gouges that you missed with the naked eye. All right, so then as we flip it over, you also do want to make sure the back is okay. Similar little white speck. You know, I'd say that corner might be a little bit off, but probably hard for you to see through the video. Yeah, there's a little white speck on this one. So, like I said, you get better at this over time, but it does look like this one, oh, that top corner, it has a couple white spots. So, yeah, I would say this one's not a 10. Could get a 9 maybe, but, you know, more likely it's like an 8. From a financial standpoint, I think an 8 would at least break even. So it still might be worth taking a shot to submit it and, you know, hopefully come back with at least an 8. So once you're ready to send, and like I said, I think I will as I'm learning as well, I want to send and get some of the feedback. You can put it in your penny sleeve, and then to take to grading, it's one of these card savers. Again, you can get on Amazon or online. Slide the card in there, stops it from moving, and then set it aside for your grading submission. Okay, let's take a look at the two Kobe's now. One of the things that you'll see as you look at different types of cards, this one's pretty hard to find a border, just like the Aaron Judge was as well. I should have called that out. You know, it's not like a typical card that has a white or a different border on the outside that you can follow. So I think on this one, you know, I would look at the distance to the line here, and then maybe the text at the bottom where that cuts off. Again, you know, not the easiest to line up here. And I did take a quick look with the tool. You set that up on here. It looks like maybe the red line. These are numbered. If you have one, you know, on your own, you can see it. Actually, I have it on backwards. So whatever the red number is there. This one does look off a little bit. It looks like it's kind of shifted. Not terrible, you know, PSA does allow 60/40, but might be pushing that. And then on the top, again, not quite sure on this one. So do your best. As you see more, you'll get better at it. You know, again, I looked at the ruler, and I would say the one on the right looks a little bit better. And then one of the things you can also do to check your work, you can take some pictures and ask your favorite AI tool. I use Gemini, but you can use ChatGPT, you know, any of the ones that can look at pictures. Let's check out the surface condition. Obviously, you want to be careful taking it out so you don't cause any issues yourself. There it goes. Okay, so there's that one. If I look under the light, I don't see anything on the surface. We'll check under the loop, but there might be a little ding in the top left corner. We'll have to check that out. Back looks pretty shiny for a card that's this old. So it's not too bad. Like I said, we'll double check that corner. And I know I mentioned it at the beginning, but I think the key is with some of these older cards, you don't need a PSA 10 to make it worth your while. PSA 9 would be strong. Even an 8.5, probably an 8, you might break even or lose a little bit of money with the potential to do pretty well. On this one, see a little smudge. Let's check that out. Yeah, there's a little bit of a marker, a smudge. I think if, not sure if it shows up on the camera, but very faint, and you can only see it in the light, but a PSA grader under a microscope is probably going to see something like that, so something to be aware of. I'm going to start there with the loop and see if actually not seeing it as much under here. Corners and the edges look pretty good. Yeah, this is actually a pretty clean card. There might be a little white chip right about here. So overall, not too bad. Might be a little bit slightly off center, so that's something to keep in mind. Now this one looks like that's just the paint on the card, but you might be able to see a little white section on here. So this is the beauty of having two of the same card. We can look, and that is not on this one. So clearly this one, the centering on the back seems to be off a little bit. It's shifted this way, so you can see, can't see that through the camera, but on this card, see the white off to this side because the green paint started over further, and we don't see that on this card. So centering is definitely off a little bit, but outside of that, the card is in really good condition. I'll have to think about it. Like I said, I'm still new at submitting these, so I might submit it just to see, since, you know, an 8 or a 9 is still okay. But if I was really looking for a 10 with a modern card, I would say definitely not, because that paint is off on that side. Back to this one. This is the one where we saw a little bit of an issue on the corner, although it doesn't look bad on here. Looks pretty good. Again, I'm saying pretty good, but we'll see how it plays out. There's a little speck there. These videos will also be good when I forget, when it takes so long to get these back, what I was looking at. So thanks for watching with me. We already looked at the back on here because we saw a little bit of a speck down there, but it's not too bad. But we saw the paint was lined up a little bit better on this one. So I think, like I said, probably definitely not 10s, but still worth getting them submitted. So I'm gonna package these up and get Get them in the card savers. And then we will take a look at the last two, and we'll be ready to get this submission in before PSA shuts it down. All right, on to the MJs. Again, starting off with the centering, we can use our tool here. Clearly I need to get better lighting because it is hard to see here. But if so it looks like the red dash line, nope, no, I moved it. Red dash line is on the end of the N, and it's a black line here. So the guide that comes with this will tell you, dash lines are even numbers, solid lines are odd numbers. So it looks like 2 and 3. So if you have 2, I guess it would be 3 and 2, you're 60-40. So pretty close. Again, we're not looking for a 10 on these. These are 1993 cards, so they're not going to be a 10, but it would be helpful if the centering is pretty good. On this one, this one actually looks a little bit better. The red and the red are pretty close. So again, we'll get better. We will get some better lighting, I think would be key. But as I look at these, I think this one you can see it was a 60-40, and you can see there's a little less black on this side. Then this one looks better. The bottoms seem to be pretty consistent. So again, we'll probably submit them both and we'll see what we get back. Now take a look at the surface. Ding the corner here. There we go. All right, I mean, the silver looks pretty good on these. For cards these old, you get the little logo on the bottom. The center stage looks pretty good. Not seeing too much on the surface. Again, if you're going to wipe them, just wipe gently. Microfiber cloth. Make sure you're on something. This is like a leather binder underneath that is not going to scratch it up too if it's on like a hardwood desk or something. I can see with the naked eye, this corner definitely has a white area. Yeah, you can see it definitely under the loop. But again, not terrible for a card this old. Doesn't help with, it's not going to get a 10, but it, might get a strong 8. Another little spot on this corner. So this one's got again, nothing major. It's not like it's bent over, but you can see white on it, which is not going to get a 10. The back, and you should check centering on the back. I'm doing this quickly. But, make sure you're looking at the front and the back if you're going for a 10 and you're expecting something, modern to be worth it if it's a gem, and break even or lose if it's a 9. Corners. Left side of this one's a little chipping, but the corner itself looks pretty good. Another little spot on the top of the corner, less than the other one, but there is a little spot there. And then again on the bottom, you know, these cards are known that they're from 1993. What's that? 33 years old, you know, or so. So over 30 years, they're not going to be perfect. And that's why a gem actually is worth so much, because if you get one in pristine condition, it's going to be worth a lot. So I will still move forward with these. You know, like I said, the grading's going to be shutting down. Might as well get them in, see what we get back as long as it takes. You know, one of the other things here, you can see all these cards are, you know, what we would say the GOATs. They're not going to have an issue with someone getting hurt or, you know, player performance over the next few months while we're waiting for grading. So we can keep following the plan, get them submitted, and I'll keep updating you along the way as things progress. And you know, we'll have a reveal video, but it's going to be a little while. So there it is. We've got 2 MJs, 2 Kobe's, an Aaron Judge. It's what I've been trying to do, 4 or 5 cards a month to get a pipeline going. Obviously, that plan is going to change a little bit here, but keep the plays going, and we'll see what type of results we get. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button and subscribe. I'll keep building out more content, working on the setup here so that we can get some better, stronger videos, and leave some feedback. I'd love to hear more, what you like. Anything that I did wrong that you think could be done better, let me know, and we'll keep this moving. Thank you.